story? What's your sign? It's like we're twin flames in a different life. Deep connection lights a spark. It's like you know me in the depths of my heart. We're dreamers, don't care what other people say. We're living like this could be our final day.
It's Wednesday. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, big welcome. Big welcome. You have stumbled across over 40 equestrian YouTube. It's a happy place and you're very welcome. Pod Earth. What is this video going to be about? So one of the other questions I get asked a lot, other than the top question, is how do you fit it all in? I did a day in the life. I'll link that if you want to go and check that out. But the second question I always get asked is, how do you afford it all? Well, that is a question. And so I thought I'm going to go through the basics of what it costs for horse ownership. I think there's not always very much good transparency on YouTube as to how much it costs. So I'm going to give you a rundown. If my financial advisor is watching, switch off now. If my parents are watching, turn off. Turn off. So this is going to be, how much do 3 horses cost? Real edition. The basics. And I'm saying the basics because if we're going into the realm of competing and transport and everything else, that's a whole other budget we can do next year, because we're definitely not using that budget this year. So come with me as I take you on a journey of what my wages actually go on. I am not blessed to have come from a background of horsey families where I have the ability to keep my horses at home. I have an amazing family, by the way, amazing parents. I mean, just an amazing family, but they're not horsey. So I don't have my own stables or anything like that. So when you have procured your 2 thoroughbreds at a knockdown price, they were collectively together, both my horses that I purchased this year was cheaper than my gas bill. Hence why I went for thoroughbreds, because you can get yourself a bargain. I mean, they're one of them things in life that they're cheap to buy, they are not cheap to keep. I will say that disclaimer now, but that is, you know, where we are. So I don't have land, I don't have stables, I don't have at my parents' house. I wish I did, but I don't. So I have to organise everything for the horses from the bare basics. I would love to have full livery, basically where if anybody is not horsey, that is where you board your horse and they do everything for you. They pay for everything, you just turn up and ride. I can't afford it. I've got 3, so I've got my 2 thoroughbreds and I've got my old girl. So I physically cannot afford it. So I have to go total DIY. So I rent. First off, my main big bill is that I rent this stable yard. Now, I rent this yard for a price of $6.50 a month. I am in the Yorkshire area, so that's kind of like north of the Midlands. I'm gonna ask Shells, what do you get for your $6.50 a month? Well, I'm gonna show you. Come with. I still leave the water on and forget about it. That is what I absolutely do. So I rent this, which is a self-contained yard. I don't particularly like big livery yards, heads up if you do that, amazing. It's not for me. I'm of an age where I just like to be by myself, and I rent this yard for the amount shown, and I get 5 stables. So we have, so we have Pea's stable, Molly's stable, chewing off that deposit. There is Blaze and Flicker in the corner, and then my old girl Cheza. I have a 5th stable here, and I use that as our tack room. Come inside. So this is our tack room. We get all this space. So we get all this enclosured space, so we can do, I don't know, they wander around here sometimes. I have a feed room, which is in here, and we have muck bins and a little section down here which at the minute is harbouring rubbish. So it also comes with a paddock. I've split this at the moment. If you want to know why, follow me on Instagram. There's a summer paddock right down the bottom, and then I've split this into two for winter, so I get that. Now I also have this paddock as well, and this is because we have 5 horses now. We started with 4 and then we had a surprise foal, so we had to have a paddock to segregate off, but this comes at an extra amount per month. That is split between me and Tan because I was just helping my friend out at that point. Come walk with me around the farm. And what we also have is, I don't know whether you can see up there, but we have a 70 by 30 school complete with Jump for Joy fences. Now as you can see, I'm not going to go in there in a minute because somebody's in it. And this is shared between 5 other self-contained yards. But the best thing about it is that they only rent out to like 1 or 2 people, so you never get masses in there. And I tend to ride in the afternoon. It's beautiful. I'll insert a picture I've got so you can see the full extent.
So get round about 30 miles of off-road hacking as far as the eye can see, and one of the main reasons why I moved.
And I know what you're thinking at this point, Shell, it's a mortgage. It is a mortgage, my friends, it is. It is nearly as much as my mortgage. And how do I make it a little bit cheaper? Well, I'm allowed to sublet. So this box is subletted to the bestie, and she pays me this amount, which gives my grand total for housing my gorgeous creatures to this. You've got to do, we've housed them, you've got to feed them. So here is my trusty haylage. This comes from a farm in Doncaster and it is specifically for equestrians. Here is one I opened earlier. When I said equestrians, it was like we eat it. We don't eat it. These are for our horses. So here it is. It's nice and soft haylage, and I pay for these this amount per round bale, and a round bale will last me for 3 horses about 2 weeks. So I get through, I have 3 delivered a month, so that cost is added to the tally. Ad lib, so they have that as much as they want, but they're thoroughbreds. Again, this is where I say cheap to buy, not cheap to keep. So to keep their weight on in winter and basically all year round, they have hard feed too. And I have scoured scientific research and everything else in regards to feeding my horses, and expert advice from vets and nutritionists when Molly had colic, and we are settled on the following bits. So I'll show you what they are. So I purchased Dingy Hi-Fi as a chaff filler, and this comes at this price, and I use about 2 bags a month. Then I have Fibre Beats. We're getting a bit low, but it's getting near payday, bear with me. And that, I probably use 3 bags of those a month, and that comes at this cost. That is just the Fibre Beat soaked, because I feed it from there. And then I add linseed, and this comes at this cost, and I only use 1 bag of that. So linseed is probably the most expensive ingredient I have for feeding, but it does go a long way. I also have a bit of carotes, why not? And they come at this price. I say all the time on this channel, but I don't feed supplements as standard. There is little scientific evidence to say that the majority of them are effective, they are expensive, and they are, in my opinion, a bit of a waste of money. I don't feed a balancer because I have the haylage analysed and the grazing analysed, so I know exactly what they're getting from there. The only thing that I add into their diet at the minute is this. This is limestone flour, and this is to ensure we have a good calcium phosphorus ratio. with feeding linseed, and because I feed more or less like straights and I don't feed like a combined diet. I don't feed a combined diet because they are still quite high in starch and sugar, and they're not great for the guts, and they're expensive. They are really expensive. So the limestone flour is this £10, and that'll last me the month. That is feeding covered. I'm trying to think in my brain if, yeah, that is feeding covered. That is all they have. So what is the next main bill? That would be this bedding. So previously, when I was at my old yard, I used straw. We're not allowed to use straw here due to muck heap, decomposition, all that. So I have to use shavings. I use Comfy Flake shavings because they're the cheapest at my saddlery. That comes at this amount per bale, and I use 2, 4, 6, 8 per month. So the total bill for my bedding is this. Slowly adding it together, realising why I haven't had a holiday. Well, I had one holiday in 4 years. They're worth it. They're worth it. Right, let's move on to what I would class as horse welfare essentials. Here's my model P. Have we got good lighting, Peanut? I just trust you a bit more than Molly. So right, we have a horse, we have a roof over its head, and we have feed in its belly and sawdust for it to poop on. What else do we need to buy on a regular basis for these gorgeous creatures? Well, I'll tell you. Hi, would be these things. Not the hooves, they come with the horse. But these metal things do not. So let's not get into a barefoot versus shoe debate because it's not a platform for it. My thoroughbreds cannot go barefoot. I'm sure somebody will say, yeah, they can. No, they're not, right? Okay, they can't. The work they do, I prefer them to have shoes on. So both girls are shod all the way around. They have shoes on all 4 feet. And these lovely things come at a cost of this. Every 5 weeks for my girl. Lived with a farrier as well. I would say always say, spend your money on good farriery. Always look after your farrier. Always make sure your horse's feet are clean, dry, and your horse is ready for the farrier to turn up. Have a coffee ready for him. You'll be his best friend. We've moved horses now for how much it costs to keep these animals to this one, and with very good reason. So my next bill that comes out every month is my insurance. Yes, insure your animals would be my #1 top tip for thoroughbreds, any animal. Like, I cannot afford to have a surprise vet bill run through my door, and I would never want to be in that situation where I couldn't afford to get a vet out to my horse. So these lovely beasties are insured, and again, I would always double check your insurance premium because the cheapest is not always the best. So mine are quite expensive. The premiums for both my girls are this amount each, so we're going to times that by 2. And because I choose Petplan Equine all the way through this, by the way, I'm not sponsored by anybody. These are just my products I use. So I choose Petplan Equine. It's not the cheapest, but I think they are the absolute best. Molly this year has circa £7,000 worth of vet's bills, and they have paid out sometimes within 48 hours. They have never questioned anything. Their main priority has been get my horse sorted, and they will sort the bill afterwards. And I pay an excess of £145 per claim, but yeah, absolutely worth it. And for that I get up to 5,000 claim per injury or illness. You are a blooming liability. Insure. With the Podworth, I feel like we're flitting between 2. Next on the list is a good physio. So horses do a lot of things for us, and in my opinion, we have to ensure that they are the most comfortable they can ever be in life. So a physio, now it's not every month but this is probably, particularly with P, she needs a lot of physio at the minute, and she's having it now once every 3 months. And the cost of physio per horse is this. That is my physio bill. Again, not monthly, but always important to try and pop into your budget is making sure we look after these teeth, and making sure you get good equine dentist. Pete's having hers done on Monday. And the cost of that is this. A good equine dentist. Super important is to ensure that you have a good worming program. Now, I'm a kid from the 80s where we used to just worm like every 6 weeks, no matter what. Now there's more better things that have been out there. There's more scientific testing on it that's saying a lot of the worms can become resistant by that kind of program. So your best bet now is to do a poo sample on a regular basis. So I am with Westgate Labs and I pay a monthly amount of this per horse. They send you, Westgate is so good, they send you sample pots on when you need it, so you don't have to remember, they remember for you. You post it off and they give you the results and they'll tell you whether they need worming or not. Due to an excellent testing program and poo picking that I do with my horses, I have not had to worm at all this year. They also do the saliva test for, I don't know what type of worm it is, might be tapeworm. But yeah, I'll link their details. They're just brilliant. I just really, really like the service. Again, not sponsored, just good value. Good value. One of the bills that I think is super important, particularly when you have youngsters, is getting a good saddle fitter. So when working the girls from racing to retraining, they change shape all the time, and so it's really good. I've got 2 saddles that are adjustable, so we can change the gullets and the flocking on them, so when the saddle fitter comes we can ensure that the girls are the most comfortable in their work. Cost of saddle fitting, I also think it's a lacking area. If you want to do anything, like train to be a saddle fitter, I really do. One last bit on what horses cost, the basics, is I don't know why I've got this here, vaccinations. So they have to have vaccinations done every 12 months. If you're competing for FEI, I believe now it's still every 6 months, and they are vaccinated against equine flu and tetanus. Vaccines. Vaccine cost, well, that's a funny one, isn't it? Because you have to pay for vets call outs. But what I do is we have every month, we have a free yard visit. So because there's quite a few self-contained DIY blocks, the vets will come out every month and do a free call out. So I will wait till that day and just make sure it's before the vaccinations are due, because you can have them revaccinated, you know, like a week before, but you cannot go a day over. So remember that. I've been caught out on that before. So that cuts so let's do it on a day when I get a free call out, which means the vaccinations per year cost me this. That's it. That is the basics of horse ownership. Like I say, we can go into a whole other realm of competing and hire and all that other stuff if anybody's really interested, but it gives you a step-by-step as to like a true figure on. It's expensive, isn't it? Anyway, let's do the final figures. I'm not a mathematician, although I sit in a finance team at work. I am never failed maths, so I'm going to try my best to do a little jiggery pokery on my board to give you a final figure per horse, how much it is. So the calculations are done, and I mean just like look away now. So this is what you would class as a bad month. So when everything in, if we had to have the teeth, the shoes, the physio, everything in 1 month, would be that fabulous figure. On a good month, so we take out, like, we don't have to have physio every month, We don't have to have their teeth done or their saddle fitting every month. Then on a standard, you've got this. Wow. Explains a lot, to be honest. Explains a lot. Always feel incredibly thankful for having the ability to have these animals. I love them to bits. They give me a new lease of life. But it's just a bit of a reality check to say, if you are looking into horses, that's probably what it's going to cost you, and you could get things a lot cheaper. So I'll do another vlog where we do cost saving tips, because there's cheaper liveries and everything like that. I pay for this particular livery because I like to be self-sufficient, and there's good facilities, so there's lots of hacking, etc. Puddy, you're damn expensive, girl. It's a good job you're cute. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little video. I thought it was a bit something different to do, and I do get a lot of people ask me, Conchelle, how much does the horses actually cost? And I think when you see it just go out on a little bit at a time, you don't appreciate the full value, where I've appreciated that today. I feel a bit sick. No, I don't. But if you like it, please like, comment and subscribe, and follow our journey. I am still taking these 2 extra race horses to eventing next year, and we'll do a whole of the budget on planning and competing, because I don't know if we're going to afford it. Please watch the ads, because it gives me a little bit of revenue, which means that what a unit, that I can take these girls out of the next year. Thank you. As always, keep it real. And I'll see you next week with an update on the girls, including what's been happening with Poddy. Great nutrition. Do we feed ourselves after? Yes. I'm understanding more now why this is a staple diet. Love it. We've also got chickpeas. You some of those too. #SaveUs menu.